to remove structural market and policy barriers and accelerate access to consumer credit to 50% of all working Nigerians by 2030 is the mandate and idea behind CrediCorp, a new institution of government. Joining us now is Uzoma Nwagba, the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, a development finance institution of the federal government of Nigeria. Good to have you on the program.
Good to be here, Dr. Abati. Thank you, Mr. Mumbai. Thank you, Mr. Rufai. I'm happy to be here.
The first time we heard of CrediCorp, that was many months ago, many seasons ago. So it's good to have you here in person. Could you summarize for us and our viewers what the mandate is, what the idea is behind CrediCorp?
Yes.
Because I recall the last time we discussed this, we were saying, oh, they do it in other countries. But what has happened since that institution was announced in Nigeria?
Thank you for the opportunity. So CrediCorp was set up by Mr. President Tinubu. And I think it's one of those things you say that it's a long overdue idea. And the president has been pretty much obsessed with consumer credit for up to 2 decades. If you hear speeches of him when he was governor of Lagos State, he always talked about credit, consumer credit being a way for people to have better lives now. What does that mean? It just means we don't have to pay cash and carry for the things that we need to improve our lives because we have the income to support the same things over a period of time. That means that if I want to get a car or a house, or I want to put a solar panel in my home, I want to educate myself, I can get that item today, enjoy it for decades, and pay for it with credit. And you see, I'll use the civil service as an example, which is a statement demography of Nigerians, people who have a very stable income. But a lot of civil servants would build their house in retirement with the money they've saved over their service life. But they could get that house or get that vehicle even when they just join the service or when they are 30. And then with their income, they can pay for it over time and enjoy that service. So the idea of consumer credit is really that, to give you a better quality of life. But there are other 2 knock-on benefits to consumer credit, specifically for Nigeria, which is, 1, it also is a tool to stem corruption for the reasons I just said. Most corruption is really around you trying to amass cash now to deal with the things that you want, to get the things that you want. But if you can pay for it over time, then you have less pressure to amass cash. Why would you want to get a 70 million naira, find 70 million naira to get a house when you can just get a house and pay a little bit with your salary? And then the third part is catalyzing industry. Now, if we are deliberate about channeling access to consumer credit to Nigerians to buy goods and services that are locally made, then what happens? The industries that you're buying from would also grow. You create jobs. So this becomes one of those tripartite tools where, 1, you improve quality of life, stem corruption, and then catalyze industry. What has happened so far? We're a new institution, a development finance institution. We strongly believe that the government cannot, by itself, fund consumer credit. Let me give you, for numbers, I talked about South Africa living there for some time. For us to have consumer credit that feels like it is in South Africa, where about 50% of the population can easily go somewhere and buy a car or get a laptop and pay over time. For us to have that, we need about 180 trillion naira circulating in the financial system, funding consumer credit. So it's not the job of the government, by and large, to fund consumer credit. If I just makes us one massive welfarist socialist state. But what the job of the government is to catalyze the consumer credit and remove the barriers that stop the financial system from doing it. What is the number 1 barrier? The number 1 barrier from the financial system today, why the banks, microfinance, are not funding consumer credit. Why, if you walk into your bank now and say, give me money to buy a laptop or a car, it's such a difficult conversation, even for people here who are presumably in the middle class, upper middle class. How much more the average Nigerian out there? The reason for that is because they can't trust you. They don't know who walked into the door. They don't know who went to that app. They don't have a clear picture of your true credit life and your credit behavior. The concept of credit scores, it exists in theory. Yeah, we have credit bureaus in the country. But as of today, we have about roughly less than 10% or just around 10% of Nigerians who have their data existent on a credit bureau. And even at that, it's not complete in the sense that if I go to credit bureau, check my credit history, which I have, some loans that I have taken, which I have taken on the back of just being in Nigeria, are not there. And it's one of those all or nothing things. You have to have the full picture. So our first job is to clear that infrastructure. But while that's happening, we will take some time. I will talk about the laws around credit reporting. The last thing is capital, which is what you see. So we give capital to banks and microfinance institutions, and we also provide guarantees just to expand access to credit.
I'm glad you spoke about some of the challenges with regards to accessing credit itself. But, you know, before we started this interview, we were talking about the psychology behind accessing credit and the fact that Nigerians prefer to just do cash and carry. Can you give us a little bit more enlightenment into why people mostly prefer that and how you're trying to reshape that psychology?
Wonderful. Thank you. In fact, you took the third thing out of my mouth. So I talked about infrastructure and then capital. The last part of our work is what we call cultural reorientation, which is getting people to rethink this idea that credit is a bad thing. I know some of you here are Yorubas, and I think the most popular word of that in Yoruba land is onigbese.
Get away.
That's onigbese. And for those of us who we grew up in the church, around the church, and the same thing I'm sure applies in Islam or around the Muslims. You say you want to be the lender, not the borrower. We really pray not to be the person who's borrowing money. But the truth is that credit is a tool that advances your life, because you already know that over my working life, I will earn in total, 200 million naira. Why can't I get some of the things now? That's why you find people tend to enjoy their lives or have the things that they would have enjoyed their life with in the twilight of their lives. A retiree from the civil service at 60, 65, now getting a vehicle. What are you going to do with that vehicle except to sit at home and then go as a retiree when you can? So the idea is that credit is not in itself a bad thing. And you know the people who mastered credit are actually some of the industrialists and the capitalists, so to speak, that we celebrate. And of course, I have the utmost respect for Alhaji Dangote. But you know we talk about Alhaji Dangote.
Today is his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Alhaji. You see? But, you know, the refinery we celebrate today is backed by credit. Your friends and family that live abroad, some of the societies we idolize, the US, the UK, say, oh my goodness, my sister, she just got, if you see the house my sister lives in, by the way, I'm speaking as a matter of fact, I have a sister who lives in Dallas, Texas, and her house is maybe 5 times the size of mine. And I don't think she earns more money than I do. But it's because she has access to credit to get those things. So credit in itself is a tool to unlock a better life, as long as you have the responsibility to pay it back. And you know what? The last thing is that we all do credit. It's just that we do it in a hidden way. You borrow money from your friend, from your family. I beg, give me urgent 10K, urgent 20K, loan apps. But we don't do it as something that you want to hide it. Whereas in America, I grew up, I became an adult in America in the sense that as a university student, I got a credit card, paid it judiciously, and then was able to get a vehicle because of my credit history. I'll drive the car, everyone knows it's on credit. Nobody is laughing at me. In fact, they're celebrating me. So I'm saying that credit, our job as cultural orientation, and you will see a lot of that going on soon, is letting people know to go and borrow money. Right now, we're around getting to 36,000 beneficiaries of the credit scheme of the government. That is the work since CrediCorp started April last year, and since we got funded 6 months ago. But we are on a journey of accelerating and scaling a lot more. And what we'll see is that we'll get into cultural orientation issues at that point.
I like that. But you see, the cultural orientation, you don't even need to do much, because poverty has already pushed people to reorientate their culture. A lot of them loans apps are chasing them with high interest rates. It's so bad. Some of them will kill themselves. Can this be an alternative to those that need quick loans and things like that? When is the payback period? I know this started with a lot of civil servants as they extended to across the population now. How much are you guys pumping into the banks for this? Did they have to go to the bank? Who do you even ask if you want to apply for this under the bank, and what's the interest rate? Perfect.
So the truth is, yes, this can be an alternative to loan app and to loan sharks. But I also be clear that we even want the loan apps and the loan sharks to be out-competed by the financial institutions. So that lets all the financial institutions, that's why we don't want to do it ourselves. We don't believe the government can fund credit at the scale that we need it to do. We want to create an environment where everybody now starts to behave themselves. And what that means is, for your question about how much, our original budget on the government for last year, 100 billion, about the same amount this year. That is not nearly enough money for the volume of credit that we need. But by working with the financial institutions, enabling them to provide cheaper interest rates now, we are in a high interest rate environment, whereas those who access credit enabled by CrediCorp
Under this
today,
scheme, what's the interest rates?
it depends on what you're borrowing, but you get it between 15 to 20% less a discount than what you would have gotten it from the same financial institution. Let's say, for example, I went to my bank and they would have given me the interest rate at 30%. You would get it between 10 to 15% just because CrediCorp has enabled the financial institution to crash the rate for you, which is what the president has been trying to push, that will let people have more access and easier access to credit. And so because of that, we are expanding our funding and working with more financial institutions while we eventually work on the credit infrastructure itself that allows the financial institutions to know you whenever you want to borrow from them, such that they can use their own money. And that's the problem now, that they are afraid of using their own money. Not that they don't, of course they do. There's a lot of credit, close to 3 trillion naira credit that happened by the CBN last year.
So when you walk into the bank, who do you talk to be able to get this CrediCorp loan?
First, you can assuming you work in the bank, you can go straight to the credit officer or the credit desk. But you can also go to creditcorp.ng and then find out the closest of our PFIs. CrediCorp.
.ng.
Yes,
okay.
and you see the list of our PFIs that's participating in financial institutions, which is a growing list. So that just make it easier for you to get the credit you want.
Okay, MD.
Sir.
You see, this thing you are recommending, this your program, it's good, and you spoke Yoruba, Gbese, only Gbese culture. You are recommending the Gbese culture. People should take credit. But you know also that in this country, what people say, people who go to church like Vembaye, who are prophetesses, they talk about cut your coat according to your cloth. Where I come from, there was one woman they used to call Shebi Otimon. You know that. Just live within your means. Don't go and collect bese, which you talked about. But how do you sell it to Nigerians? You talk about cultural reorientation.
Yes.
So you want to persuade Nigerians that it's good to be indebted. And then, is it for civil servants alone? Because if this is a government program, is your agency focusing only on government people so that, religious people who are ordinary people can just stay safe?
Dr. Mati, thank you for that question about Odigbe. See, I agree with you that you should cut your coat according to your cloth. I 100% agree with you on that. The question is, what is the size of your cloth? We grossly underestimate our cloth to be that money that enters your bank account at the end of the month. Your cloth is the money that you have earned or you will earn over your productive life, the money that you earn over your productive life. So my cloth is not the 200,000 naira that I collected this month. My cloth is the 2.4 million naira for this year. So my cloth is the 24 million naira over 10 years. So rather than save 200,000 or half of my cloth, 100,000 naira every month for 10 years, so that I can buy a car of 12 million, can I not bet that car now and still be paying that same money I'll be saving? But I'll be living with the car, just like Madam Bimbai said. It's just the bottom line. It's not, and we are not for any form of reckless borrowing, of course not. But what we believe is that, and it is proven, and I'm not even talking about economies, this is just even on the individual level, that your cloth is the income that you earn and that is worth your productive life. And that cloth is not 200,000 naira per month. You will still save. People save money to buy the same things that they can get for credit now and pay back with the same money they would have saved over time. The only difference is that you have now brought the good life forward. Our mantra is live better now. I know that, because this idea of, maybe we think of a pawnbroker or an usury, that somebody come and hold you for the money that they are owing you. But think of the people we admire. A lot of them, they are running on not irresponsible credit, just credit, good credit that they can pay back over time. I think that is what our message is, that Nigerians should look at your income and go and get credit to get the things you want. Now, a student who earns 50,000 naira or 100,000 naira a month, or gets an allowance, you can get a laptop now.
Okay, students qualify as well.
Yes, you can get a laptop now, buy a laptop. That laptop will expose you to the internet. You can do internet jobs. You can learn a new skill, learn a tech skill. And you can be paying for that laptop with 25,000 naira, 30,000 naira every month. Over the period, by the time you're done, you start earning 2 million naira a month from working on an internet job. Okay. Why would you not do that?
What's the default rate?
Right now, we have 0% default rate.
Okay, because you have not gotten to any big tenure on any of the loans given out.
No, not for that. Our loans are between 2 years to 3 years. It's because we work with the financial system.
Okay.
So our appraisals are quite stringent.
CEO CrediCorp, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
I hope this publicity is very useful, and you still have to enlighten Nigerians about this credit culture. But I just hope that your agency won't be overwhelmed, because everybody will just come and ask for credit.
We are ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you.